Mr. Sergeant at Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Love will introduce the chaplain of the day. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we have with us today Bishop E. Ann Henning Byfield, Bishop of the 13th Episcopal District of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and that district comprises the states of Tennessee and Kentucky. Bishop Byfield has her Bachelor of Science degree from Wilberforce University, Master of Divinity degree from Newburgh Theological Seminary, another Master of Divinity degree from Payne Theological Seminary, and a Doctorate of Ministry degree from Ashland Theological Seminary. She is one of our own, having been born here in Tennessee. She's a child of the parsonage. Her father pastored a church in several places in Tennessee, and also her brother was a bishop in the AME Church, and she made history in being the only time in history that a sibling was elected while another sibling was still serving on the bench. She has served the 16th district of the AME Church, and of course now again serves the 13th district, which is again Kentucky and Tennessee. I'm indebted to her because she is my bishop. She keeps me accountable at Lee Chapel to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing annually with reports about those that we are trying to get in the right posture of life. So please let us hear our bishop this morning as she leads us in prayer. Bishop Byfield.
Let us pray. Merciful God, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. We invoke your presence to galvanize our spirits and minds to actualize the urgency of the responsibilities of those who've been elected by some of the people to represent all of the people. Empower your leaders to face together the issues of injustice, economic disparities, marginalization, apathy, racism, sexism, gentrification, and interpolitical war, and the continuation of the tapestry of evil in all forms that terrorize us through mass weaponry, voter suppression, and violence of every kind. Cover leaders from attacks and unkind words and from the silences of those who want to attack each other out of differences, demean each other out of power, and to use this time to push a hate-filled attack. Grant us the energy in this room to rekindle the dreams and hopes of all of our ancestors, whether they came on the Mayflower, stolen from their homelands, or came by boats to escape tyranny, that we have the same dreams of equality, family, health, freedom, and the rights to live in harmony. Grant us courage to see the collective needs beyond partisan beliefs to save our children from early death, from murder and diseases. Grant us the willingness to allow the sunset years of our seniors to live in dignity, not having to choose from substance, shelter, and medicine. And help this body enact policy to protect the environment and the people. So forgive us of our pious personalism and destructive agendas. Replace them with communal deliberations and peace. Help us to operate in grace, lead with gentility, discipline and love, and set the standard for excellence. Stop those who want to continue separate agendas, not for the common good, but for free. And close the gap between policy and practice so that we are truly one nation under God, not the same, but in the same spirit. Not carbon copies, but reflective of the diversity of people, culture, and character. Not in isolation or a collection of interest groups, but working together, serving together, respecting each other together, lifting up together, operating in grace together, walking in peace together, so that these, your elected servants, will abide in faith, hope, and love together, with strength to endure the journey of representing this state together, so that we may all live together. Amen. It is so.
Representative Love will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Members, let us salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 95 members present.
Let the journal reflect Representative Gant, Gillespie, Johnson of Knox are excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming and honoring
Welcome and honoring. Let the journal reflect Representative Farmer is excused. Anyone seeking recognition? Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have a constituent and dear friend on the floor with us today, and I'd ask him to stand up. Mr. Elliott Martin, who came through high school when I was teaching, but Elliott was my campaign manager in my first election back in 2018, but he was unable to help me in my first re-election in 2020 because he was deployed serving his country over in the Middle East. And to express to you the commitment that he and his household have, his wife just returned from a deployment over to the Middle East just this fall. So give him a welcome and a thank you. We're glad to have him.
Representative Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, my intern, Kay Allen, is here. Please make her feel welcome. She's doing an outstanding job.
Representative Alexander.
Thank you. I would ask that everyone rise with me to honor a real hero in Washington County that died. Representative Hicks and I had the privilege of knowing this man, Major General Gary Harrell. He was in so many things, commanded so many things that you all even know about. Like if you watch the movie Black Hawk Down, he was in command of that. He was in Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm. He was assigned to the 7th Special Forces Group. He did 35 years, supported the 82nd Airborne Division, the 7th Special Forces and Delta Force. He commanded operations in Panama, Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq. But he was also the head of our Republican Party when he retired from his service. He was a father, a grandfather, a wonderful husband, and he loved our country, and we will forever be indebted to this man. Would you bow your heads in a moment of silence with us? Thank you.
Thank you. There's members on the list we'll come back to. We have a presentation. So Representative Freeman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that the Sergeant of Arms escort our guests into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, please escort the guests to the well.
Mr. Speaker, I request that the clerk read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 4 by Representative Freeman and others, a resolution to honor and commend the National Wild Turkey Federation upon its 50th anniversary. Whereas it is fitting that the members of this General Assembly recognize those exemplary organizations that promote and protect the long-honored outdoor traditions of our nation. And whereas one such commendable organization is the National Wild Turkey Federation, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary of providing ceaseless support to science-based wildlife management, research, and habitat conservation. And whereas the National Wild Turkey Federation, Inc. was incorporated on March 28th, 1973 in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And whereas over the course of 50 years, the National Wild Turkey Federation, its chapters and millions of members across the nation have worked with state, federal, and non-governmental partners to promote the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage, participating in one of the greatest conservation success stories in American history, the return of the wild turkey from the brink of extinction. And whereas the National Wild Turkey Federation works across land ownership boundaries to increase clean and abundant water, healthy forests and wildlife habitat, resilient communities, and robust recreational opportunities across the country. And for this work, The organization should be specially recognized. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we recognize and commemorate the 50th anniversary of the National Wild Turkey Federation and salute the organization and its chapters and members for their tireless and selfless work to further scientific, state-led wildlife management and the conservation of America's wild turkey and its habitat.
Representative Freeman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I have with me Scott Martin, Derek Alkire, Mark Darnell, Joe Schultz, Tim Yates, and Logan White, all with the National Wild Turkey Federation. They're here celebrating the 50th anniversary of that organization. And this weekend at Opryland Hotel is their annual convention. And those of you that have ever turkey hunted know the success that the Wild Turkey Federation has had in bringing back, as was just shared, an animal that was literally on the brink of extinction. When I was a child, there were no turkey around Middle Tennessee. And now you can't go anywhere without hearing them. But this is a great organization, and I hope everybody comes out this weekend. And if you have time and you book a room around the conservatory, you will be greeted every night, all night, to gobbling back and forth. They'll be calling from one balcony to the next. It's a ton of fun. I'm going to ask Mark Darnell, the Tennessee State Chapter President, to share some remarks. And then, Mr. Speaker, if you'd like to come down to the well for a photo, and any member of the Sportsman's Caucus or any member that would like to be a member of the Sportsman's Caucus is welcome to join us. So, Mark.
Thank you.
Good morning. As I said, my name's Mark Darnell. I'm from Money, which puts me squarely as a constituent of Kelly Kiesling. Kelly, great to see you. I'd like to say on behalf of the 13,000 adult members in the state of Tennessee, which in true volunteer tradition is the #1 state in the United States in adult membership, we would like to thank this body for recognizing an organization that truly embodies the hunting heritage and the tradition for not only a hunter, but their families. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Freeman.
Thank you. Speaker, would you care to join us for a photo? Thank you. Caucus, please.
We are back under welcoming and honoring. Representative Ritchie, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I'm glad to introduce a really good friend of mine. He's like a brother, Mr. Corey Harris, country music singer that's down from Kentucky visiting us today. Y'all give him a round of applause for me.
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Monday night during session, I got a text message to inform me that our DA, Mr. Danny Goodman, lost his daughter in a car accident. She was 22 years old, and he's a fantastic man, he and his wife, Penny. And I just covet your for my sake and their sake, I appreciate you to just pray for them and just hold them up in prayer over the next few days. Tomorrow they'll be laying her to rest. But he's just a fantastic individual, and just pray that God gets the glory from it somehow. Moment of silence requested, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like for you to help, all of y'all help me and Representative Barrett welcome Scotty Page, our friend and constituent, up in the corner here. Let's make him welcome.
Representative Barrett at Littleton's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 days ago on Valentine's morning, County Commissioner Ray Ledger woke up to find his wife, Jamie Stokes Ledger, deceased. Jamie was a classmate of mine. We graduated together in 1992. We've grown up together from elementary school. We've known each other for a very long time. Anybody that knew Jamie knew that she had the biggest heart in the entire county. She was loved by all, and she will be greatly missed. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Whitson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, yesterday we learned that the Tennessee National Guard lost 2 soldiers in a tragic accident down in Alabama. Learned over the years, whether it's in combat or in training, it's a demanding business and it's a dangerous business. And members, join me as we take a moment of silence for these 2 brave young soldiers who lost their life in the service of our state and our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have some guests on the floor today, as well as in the gallery. Impact Leadership, led by Cindy Schumann, is up in the gallery, and some of their participants for Impact Leadership are on the floor today. Speaker, as you know, they serve the Upper Cumberland in the leadership group, and so we want to make sure we welcome them to the floor today. Thank you.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this morning when I got up, I was watching the news, national news, and when they talked about the fact of over 40,000 people have died in the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and when America comes to the aid when the world is in need. So of course our country is sending aid. And just to think of 40,000 human beings dying by the act of nature, it makes you wonder, what if that could have happened here? And God forbid that anything like that would ever happen in this country. Could we stand for a moment of silence and support for the victims? Thank you.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Whitson's already covered my honoring.
All right, yes, sir. Representative Parkinson, I think you were recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, we lost a good man in the Memphis market. He was a news reporter. He goes by the name of Tom Dees. He spent almost 30 years in Memphis market reporting the news, and he was always fair and balanced and funny. His family will be laying him to rest this weekend. If we can stand for a moment of silence for the Deezer, that's what we call him, Tom Dees. Thank you.
Representative Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome my intern, Abby Adu, to the House chamber this morning. Let's give her a big Tennessee State Capitol welcome.
Representative Carringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to recognize my intern, who's right up here to the right, Tyler Stashevsky. She's from Chattanooga, but she's a junior at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And I just want to welcome you to session this morning. Thank you.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman. In Memphis, we also lost an icon in Queen Georgia King. She was a civil rights leader and activist who took Matthew 25 to heart. She worked and advocated on behalf of the poor, literally fed the homeless in our communities. And she sacrificed her life over decades to, as she would say, keep the skillet hot in order that we might continue our pursuit of justice. And tomorrow I'll be speaking at her services and funeral, but want to thank her for her service on this side and the journey that she's been on for justice and equality for Black people, poor people, and all people in our community, and ask that we take a moment of silence for her. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more under welcoming and honoring? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a little bit of a lighter note, I'd like to take a moment to ask you and the House members to help me say happy birthday to a young lady who's been with me for 20 years, Miss Allison Sneed. If we could all wish her a happy birthday today. Yeah.
Have I missed anybody? Next order, Mr. Clark.
Introduction to resolutions.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule number 17 and placed on the consent calendar, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing in line of that has to be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Resolutions lying over.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Introduction of bills.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bills 1,542 through 1,548 be introduced and passed on first consideration.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Senate bills on first consideration.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that Senate Bills 1, 11, 23, 42, 43, 72, 86, 124, 147, 148, 158, 159, 210, 217, 236, 239, 247, 248, 253, 277, 333, 334, 366, 401, 402, 577, 578, and 579 transmitted by the Senate be held on the desk pending third consideration of their companion House bills.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Senate bills on second consideration. House bills on second consideration.
Lear Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bills 1,539 through 1,541 be passed on second consideration to be held on the desk or referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Petitions and memorials, reports from standing committees, reports from select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chairman Zachary, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Gentleman moves passage of the consent calendar, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? All right, we're voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member votes, any member wish to change their vote? Rudds, aye. Williams, aye. Campbell, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare the consent calendar passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Next order, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Call it first bill, Mr. Clark.
House Bill 219 by Chairman Reagan. Relative to the Sam Davis Memorial Association Board of Trustees, Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk. It was previously considered and reset for today's regular calendar.
Chairman Reagan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 93.
Chairman Reagan moves substitute and conform Senate Bill
53.
53. Yes, sir. Chairman Reagan moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 53 without objection. So ordered. Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 53 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Reagan moves passage of Senate Bill 53 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Reagan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Chairman Reagan renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Jones.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, will the sponsor yield to a series of questions?
Chairman Reagan.
I yield.
Thank you.
Representative Jones.
Thank you. Chairman Reagan, the last time that this board was up for review before government operations in 2018, an article by the Tennessean entitled Tennessee Confederate Monument Organization Faces Criticism in State Review stated that a recent state audit found that the 9-member Sam Davis Memorial Association Board of Trustees has not been following some basic tenets of good government. For years, it didn't hold public meetings, it didn't keep minutes, it didn't have bylaws, nor did the board have a conflict of interest policy. In addition, the audit also indicated that the board members are all white. To your knowledge and understanding, have these issues been resolved by this board?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, sir. To my knowledge, those discrepancies have been corrected.
That's fine. I got you. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is the current racial makeup of the board, Chairman Reagan?
Chairman Reagan.
The Board of Trustees is made up of 9 members appointed by the governor, and it oversees all aspects of the site. I do not have information on the individual makeup that was available in committee, sir.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On its website, the Sam Davis Association only mention of those who were enslaved, brutalized, and beaten on the land refers to them as enslaved workers. Personally, this sounds a bit revisionist to me. And I was just questioning, what ways are we making sure that the accurate and full story of history is being told at this site?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the member who has asked the question, that is a function of that board as well as their operating organization, sir.
Representative Jones.
Do you believe that this board is a good steward of telling the accurate story of history for this site? And are they living up to that mission?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to repeat your question, please, sir. I did not quite understand you.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you believe that this board is telling a comprehensive, full story of the history, including the perspective of those who were enslaved on this land? Or do you believe that it is not telling the full story of what happened at this site that is historically significant to Tennesseans?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the gentleman asking the question, I believe in God. All else is facts and data for me. The research that I have done indicates that that is the case, sir.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many historians have presented Sam Davis as a touchstone of the mythology of the lost cause. Through continuing the board, do you believe that this state is giving sanction to this narrative of the lost cause?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This state does not give sanction to anything that is a function of the operating agency of that institution, sir.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My final question, Chairman Reagan, is as we look at the board, it is not diverse. There are no people of color on this board. And so my question is, my question is, I think that we had a few more questions. This was just placed on the consent calendar in government operations. And so I would ask that the sponsor send this back to government operations so that we could have the board present and answer some questions from the committee before the full House votes on this, if you'll be amenable to that.
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, sir, I'm not. It has been before the committee. The opportunity to be heard on those issues was present at that committee at that time. I see no reason to send it back.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Anyone else wishing to be recognized? Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to follow up on one of the questions that was asked, the question was asked whether or not you were confident as to the way that the history of this institution and this location was being presented and from a historical perspective. And you said it was the function of the board, I believe you said. Is that correct?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Board of Trustees, in conjunction with the agency that operates that, is that deciding factor on that, sir.
Chairman Clemens.
And given that that is what is up for debate as to the sunset provision here before us, are you comfortable enough with them to pass this resolution?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The answer, sir, is yes.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Representative Sparks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Sam Davis home happens to be 100 yards out of my district. He was a young man that gave his life for a cause you may disagree with. And I'm reminded what Ronald Reagan said, if I find someone that agrees with me 80% of the time, that's an 80% friend, not a 20% traitor. Most of us agree, well, I'd say all of us agree on 80% of the issues, I would say. Here's a quote that Sam Davis gave. I didn't even know this was up, so bear with me. It's his final words. He's a young man that was just serving his state, whether you disagree with him or not. He said, I'd rather die 1,000 deaths than betray a friend. And he was hung. He was a young man of character. You may have disagreed with the cause, may have disagreed with what's going on, but my good friend from Davidson County mentioned there's no one of color there. How many of y'all have visited Sam Davis' home? Raise your hand if you visited. 1 member, 2, 3 members, 4 or 5 members. Go visit the home. Read his story. The late Dr. George Smith, who was African-American, who was the first physician to be allowed doctor privileges at Ruff County Hospital. Dr. Terry's agreeing. Great man of character. Awesome man. Google Mike Sparks, Dr. George Smith. Well, Dr. George Smith was at my fundraiser. Guess where it was at? It was at Sam Davis' home. It was at Sam Davis' home. And he whispered over to me, he says, Sparks, I'm gonna get you, get a check. I'm gonna help you. Sadly, he died 2 months later of cancer. Many of you members have been up here a while, remember me recognizing him on the floor. Go to YouTube, type in Dr. George Smith. You'll see the tribute. You'll see Larry Miller. You'll see Joe Town standing there. Dr. George Smith was a good man. He served on their board. Just wanted to put that out for the record. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Warner.
Question on the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Question's been called. Any objection? See none. Okay. We got objection. All right. We'll be on the board for the objection. We're voting on previous question. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 72, 22 nays.
Previous question prevails. We are voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 53, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, Powell's a no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 21 nays.
Senate Bill 53, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolution 174.
Chairman Faison, at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to hold Senate Joint Resolution 174 on the desk.
Without objection, hold on the desk. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the regular calendar.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the rules be suspended for immediate consideration of SJR number 218.
Mr. Clerk, please read the caption.
Senate Joint Resolution 218 by Leader Lambert, the resolution to provide for recess in the proceedings of the 113th General Assembly.
You have heard the caption. Any objections? Without objection, the rules are suspended. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I've got a couple of my friends around me that are saying, what are we doing here? So Monday is President's Day. This resolution would allow us to not be in session on Monday evening. If you vote in favor of this resolution, then we will not be here on Monday. If you all vote against it, then I look forward to seeing you on Monday. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in SJR number 218.
Leader Lamberth moves to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 218, probably second. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I declare it concurred in without objection. The motion for reconsider is tabled. Congratulations. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Announcements.
Announcements. Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, members, is Charter School Day on the Hill, and outside the door in the Legislative Library, they've got drinks and refreshment. Just step in there on your way out and grab something and tell them hello.
Chairman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, thank you for getting your amendments in for the transportation omnibus bills, but some have not turned theirs in yet. I urge you to get those in. The deadline is March 2nd.
Thank you. Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to raise everybody's attention to the fact that the weather is supposed to get pretty bad here in the early afternoon. So if you are from out of town, I would encourage you to either hunker down here in Nashville for an extra night or leave town pretty soon before the storm hits. I'd hate for anything to happen to anybody on the way out of town, despite what I say sometimes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We appreciate your compassion. Chairman Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Corrections Subcommittee, there have been no bills put on notice, so we will not meet Tuesday morning. Corrections Subcommittee will not meet Tuesday morning.
Representative Alexander.
Thank you. Members and staff invited to come and say hello to ETSU's president, Dr. Brian Nolan, along with ETSU alumni and friends, Tuesday morning, February 21st. Drop in anytime from 7:30 to 9:30. We're going to have biscuits with the Bucks in room 8D. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to thank everyone for their donations for Ties for Turns. The interns had a great time. I think we had close to 700 ties that were donated, maybe about 10 to 12 suits, a few pairs of shoes. And our interns were very, very thankful to you all. So I want you to know that. And anybody else that's listening, you know, the governor's office and everyone else who contributed to Ties for Turns for this year. And I know y'all looking forward to me promoting this again next year. We might start at the end of the year before we get into next year to promote next year's Ties for Turns. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Hemmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder for the Davidson County delegation, we have a meeting today at 11 o'clock in room 8B. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I wanted to make an announcement for y'all. The Tennessee Highway Patrol, our troopers, have a day on the Hill. Tuesday, we all love them. I hope we do appreciate what they do. They also have breakfast Tuesday morning, 7:30, 8th floor. It's going to be good. Hope to see y'all there.
Thank you, Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I forgot one. Members, next Wednesday at 1:30 in the House Education Administration Committee, we're having a 2-hour hearing on early childhood literacy as it relates to the 3rd grade retention issue. I know that you're all getting many emails and calls on that. 2 hours, we got experts coming in as well as 3rd grade teachers, superintendents, and experts in early childhood literacy to talk. There will be no bill discussion, but a good education on where we are in K1, 2, and 3 early childhood literacy in this. So you're welcome to come and attend. And for the committee, please be on time. We got a full 2-hour meeting and we will get started right on the dot.
Thank you, Representative Parkinson.
I apologize, members, Mr. Speaker, but I want to be able to go back into my office when I leave this chamber. Let me thank my staff and all of the team that helped put Ties for Turns together. And thank you again, Mr. Speaker. So I need to say that publicly. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the majority voted aye on Leader Lambert's motion earlier, and we will not be here on Monday, that means we will also not have budget hearings on Monday. Finance Committee, we will start those again on Tuesday. We will start this next leg of our marathon. So be there, be square on Tuesday afternoon for budget hearings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Mr. Clerk? You have an announcement?
Mr. Speaker, due to the President's Day holiday, the amendment filing deadline for committees and subcommittees that meet on Tuesday will be the end of business on Friday. That's tomorrow. Also, Mr. Speaker, those wishing to testify in any committee on Tuesday will need to notify the chairman's office by the close of business on Friday.
Thank you. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 93 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the regular order.
Leader Cochran, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to SJR 218, I move that the House stand in recess until 9 a.m. on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023.
Without objection, the House stands recessed till 9 a.m. on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023.